We're talking Ball State, Don Shondell and Ray McCallum talking Ball State, Nate Davis and Bonzi Wells, Schumann, Bell Tower and Worthen, fans all over from Muncie to Berlin, getting Concannons, Carters and Greeks. All right, everyone out there in Cardinal land, we are back. And welcome to another live edition of Ball State of the Union, your number one Ball State football podcast. By the fans, for the fans. We're talking current headlines, exclusive interviews with Cardinal athletes and coaches, and fun off-the-wall debates that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to us on all of your favorite social media platforms. And as always, it's been a few weeks. I know you guys have been missing us. But remember, when you hear that beautiful song and that beautiful voice at the beginning of every episode, you know we're about to be doing one thing, and that is talking Ball State. I am John, your host as always, joined tonight by my good friend Colin from over there at Ball State Football Talk on Twitter, and the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend for the Ball State Cardinals, Mr. Willie Snead. Boys, it's been a few weeks. We're back. I got a lot of things that have been going on in my life I'll get to here in just a second. What have you guys been up to? Colin? I know you love some Ball State of the Union. I know it's been killing you. We've been gone for a few weeks. What have you been up to? What have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
Playing the old college football games, getting ready for next year, getting ready for this interview. Pro day is tomorrow, so making sure all my ducks are in order to go down there for pro day and just getting excited for this upcoming season. It's closer than we think, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be getting here, it's still a ways away. We still got a little ways to go, but we're going to probably get to schedule. I would think probably sometime this week. Tickets going to be going on sale. People are going to be making some moves here. Willie, we had a little bit of a cold snap down here, a little drought down here. Not much going on down here. What's been going on down in South Florida for you the last few weeks since we last spoke?
No, I've been cooling, man. I've been doing the big dad thing down here. Got my son and my 3 daughters. They keep me plenty busy. Definitely been looking forward to getting back online with you guys and just talking to the fans, talking Ball State football. We got the pro day, like Colin said, coming up, and then we got, spring ball right around the corner. So there's a lot to be excited about with the reveal of the schedule coming up soon. It's a lot of exciting things to look forward to at Ball State. So things been good, man. I can't complain. It has been cold. It has been a drought, no rain, but all is well down here in South Florida.
Yep. True. We got baseball going on down here now. Things are starting to pick up. So, All right, everyone. Again, we've been gone for a few weeks, but if you forgot, remember, we are live right now. So if you got any questions for me, Colin, Willie, our guests who we're about to have come on here in just a little bit, be sure to put them in the chats wherever you're watching the show, whether it be on Facebook, or YouTube, or X, and we will get to them at the end of the show. Before we move on, one thing, as always, I want to be sure to shout out our friends over at the College Huddle. Ball State of the Union is a member of the College Huddle, and that's a group of nationwide, independently made college football podcasts. So if you're a fan of Ball State or you're a fan of any other team out there, go to the College Huddle, check them out. They're going to have someone who's making a show by the fans, for the fans, kind of like I say in the intro all the time. So be sure to check them out. They're always talking all things college football, and Ball State of the Union is a member of there. So be sure to support them if you're just a fan of college football in general. So, guys, before we get to our guest, I got one more thing here. So I've referenced this a few times so far. We have had a little bit of a hiatus recently, and there is a reason for that. Gentlemen, I introduced to you the newest potential Ball State quarterback in 2045, maybe. This is my little man. He was born about 10 days ago, so we've been trying to get stuff going here, but I had a baby on the way, so my first son, I have a daughter, and I have a son as well. So these guys here, Willie and Colin, were both checking in the whole time and what's going on. But yeah, we got another one in the family here, and hopefully, like I said, 18 years down the road or something, maybe he can be throwing to Willie's son up there in Muncie. So that's why we've had a little bit of delay here.
Yeah. I think that would be pretty cool if we talked that into fruition. It came true. That'd be pretty awesome, right?
Yeah. And so right when he got home, we put him in this little pack and play, and my aunt made him this quilt, and right in the middle of it says Ball State. So I figured this would be a perfect time to reveal to the world. So shout out to my son, I guess. So okay. Do you guys have anything else before we get to our special guest we have here tonight? Good to go?
I'm ready
to go, man. Excited, bro.
Perfect. All right. So Colin's put in the legwork here. the guest we're about to have on here, I believe, was the first person that was added to the roster in the transfer portal, even before the transfer portal even opened. Is the first name that committed that was coming to Ball State. So we're excited to have him on here. It's the newest quarterback for our Ball State Cardinals. That is Mr. Tyler Mizzell. Tyler, thanks for joining us here tonight.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so Tyler is actually, doing us a solid here. Ball State is on spring break right now. He's spending time with his lady up in the Northeast, and he's taking time out of his evening to come on here and talk some ball with us, and for all the fans out there to listen to. So, Tyler, we appreciate your time here tonight. We won't keep you too long. But before we kind of jump in, I know Colin and Willie have a handful of questions. I just wanted to ask, basically, how did you end up at Ball State? Like I said, I remember when the transfer portal was opening up, even before it opened, you were the first name we all saw. How did that happen? How did that kind of, come to fruition? How did you end up coming to play for Ball State this year?
Yeah. So, originally I was at Wake Forest. I got in the portal after 2 years there. They had a coaching change, so I got in the portal. And I talked to Ball State a bunch. Coach Harmon, Coach U. They talked to my high school coaches. They talked to my coaches at Wake. They liked my film. But unfortunately, I didn't have any game film, or all I had was practice film and high school film. And so that didn't really help me much. And also the timing of it, it was right after spring ball. So I would be joining the team in the summer. And so timing wise, it just didn't really work out. And that's how I ended up at Concord, the Division II in West Virginia. Got some game film. I played pretty well at that level. And then I got back in the portal again. And, I got the phone call from Coach U saying they wanted me to come out and take a visit. And they offered me on the visit. I had a great visit. Like I said, I had already built a relationship with Coach U and Coach Harmon. So, just coming out here, seeing the place, and I was sold, really, honestly, when I saw Muncie and I saw the facilities, and I got to talk to the guys in person. So I got back, and I think I got back on a Thursday, and they played a game on Saturday. And then Sunday was Thanksgiving, and I had already made up my mind on the visit that I would end up there. So, that Thanksgiving Day, I committed. I called Coach U and I gave him that call.
Nice. So that's kind of crazy. This was 2 years in the making, basically.
Yep, it was.
Wow. All right, that's pretty cool. I like that. So obviously we have, me and Colin can ask questions all day, and that's whatever. But we have someone who's walked the walk and talked the talk with Mr. Willie Sneed here. So I know Willie has some questions for you. He might want to see what your arm looks like if he's ever up there in Muncie. He might want to see go catch some balls for you. But Willie, I know you have a couple questions for Tyler as well. So by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, Tyler, man, just congrats on your journey, man, to be able to take the route that you have. It's not easy, man, and to get back in D1 football. Definitely excited about you being on the roster this year. Kind of talk to us about your time so far at Ball State. It's probably been a couple of weeks. You've been through a winter program. Spring ball is about to start. Just tell us about your experience so far in Muncie. I know it's probably pretty cold up there. If I remember correctly, around those times, I was freezing my nuts off going to those mat drill workouts. But kind of just, talk to us about the experience so far in Muncie and what it means to you and what you've been doing.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Like I said, the weather has definitely been an adjustment for me. It's definitely a little colder there than anywhere else I've been. But, we had a great first 8 weeks. I think we started January 8th or something like that was the first workout. But, we've had a great first 8 weeks as a team, just building relationships, getting stronger in the weight room. Our first mat drill, we struggled. And then this last mat drill we'd had right before spring break, we killed it. We do the card tests, which is a great test for us as a team. It's, 20 yards cut back, and it's as many yards as you can get. And it's been, like I said, the numbers don't lie. And our numbers have been, 10 times better than when we started. So, and Muncie, right. I've enjoyed Muncie. Coming from where I came from was a small town in West Virginia. And now I'm in Muncie, and it's a town that kind of supports the university and kind of revolves around the university. And you can kind of see that when you walk in a restaurant and everybody's so friendly and nice to the football team and stuff like that. So, like I said, I've enjoyed my first 8-9 weeks in Muncie, and I'm excited to see, what spring ball has and all that.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. This community is ready for the football team to kind of explode. It's always been like on the cusp of being great, losing games by, a field goal or so many points. But Kind of tell us. I remember you saying that this has kind of been 2 years in the making for you, right? You've been in contact with Coach U's staff for the last 2 years. Kind of tell us what you kind of saw in Coach U and his staff and maybe his offense that you feel like you can come in and contribute right away. Like what was the selling piece for you outside of the facilities and just being in Muncie? Like what really sold you on the staff and kind of coming up to Muncie and trying to, implement what you do best and how you can change this offense for the better?
Yeah. I mean, I think I fit their mold to the offense. I think I'm a mobile guy who can spin it around the park as well. And I think that's what they were looking for. I think everywhere when they were at Butler, their guy, he ran the ball well and he threw the ball well. And last year, I think, Kyle did the exact same thing. So I think I fit their mold of what a quarterback looks like. And that's kind of what I was looking for in an offense. I think I can run pretty well. And like I said, I can throw it around pretty well too. So, like I said, I think I fit in well with what they're trying to do.
And I'm excited for the weapons you got this year, man. I think, honestly, like this is probably going to be a stacked roster of like weapons that you have at your arsenal. So, with spring ball coming up, you guys are on spring break now, and I'm guessing you guys will jump into spring ball probably a week or two after you guys get back. What are you most excited about this spring, that you can get into, and what do you see yourself getting better at this spring and kind of projecting yourself going into the summer and fall and so on and so forth?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see the guys come together more and actually get out on the field and play football. We do ROA. We throw to the guys almost every day. We try and get on the field as much as we can, but once you get that 11 on 11, it's a little different. Like best on best, I'm super excited for that and just to compete with the guys. You get a little bit of that with the mat drills and going up against each other, but once we get the fat and all that stuff, it's a little different. So that's what I'm excited for. And, and I just hope we can kind of build on that. I'm excited to see what this team can do. Like you said, we have a lot of talent all over the roster. So like I said, I'm excited to see it all come together.
No doubt, bro.
Now, Tyler, before I kick it over to Colin, I had one question because you and Willie both referenced this, and you kind of seemed like you had some more flashbacks when you brought it up. Explain to us what the mat drill is.
Oh, yeah. So it's it's like a bunch of drills that you do in sequence. So, we do tug of war, and then we do bags, and then we push a sled, and it's just it's a constant circle, and there's rounds, and it's just a super tiring thing that you do together. It's to build, it's to get you stronger and get you in shape. But at the end of the day, it's to kind of go through a hardship with your brothers at the end of the day. So that's really what we do. We do hard stuff all together. So it kind of, builds that bond.
Okay. All right, boys, I think we got to do a mat drill during the tailgate next year of some kind. I don't know how.
I'd love to see it.
I definitely want to do a mat drill with Colin, man. Colin be talking too much.
All right, everyone out there listening, be sure, if you got any questions for Tyler while we have him, be sure to put it in the chats anywhere. We can ask him before he gets out of here in just a little bit. Or if you have questions for any of us, we can answer them at the end of the show. So nobody more passionate out there about Ball State football than Ball State football talk, Mr. Colin. So Colin, go ahead. I know you have a couple questions for Tyler as well. I'm all ears. I'm excited to hear what they are.
Thanks, John. Tyler, I know you spent 2 years in the ACC, but I was just curious how familiar you are with MAC football. Before this year, have you ever seen any games, and are you familiar with the team? How would you say how familiar you are with this conference going into this year?
I'm honestly not that familiar. The only MAC games I've ever actually watched are the MACtion games. Just Tuesday nights, it's on. It's something to watch, right? But besides that, honestly, I'm not very familiar.
Okay, fair enough. Is this upcoming season, would it be your first time being in the EA college football game, or did you already experience that 1 year on Wake?
Nope, this will be my first year.
First year. Okay, yeah. That could be exciting. You could be the player on like the intro screen when you turn the game on, because last year it was Keon and he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's so exciting. Just a general question for you, Tyler.
Yep.
This upcoming season, I know last year with Concord, you were the leading rusher and the leading passer. This upcoming season, what would you say some of your goals are? both personal goals and maybe the goals for the team.
Yeah, I mean, the goals for the team is always, I mean, this is for every football team, is to make a bowl game and win the MAC. I mean, that's always the goals as a team. You want to always make a bowl game. You always want to play in the postseason. I mean, personally, it's very straightforward. It's I want to be the starter, and you know, I want to be all MAC, and you know, I want to lead this team to the team goals. You know, I want to be the guy that can, you know, win a bowl game, win the MAC championship. You know, that's what I strive for. But like I said, everybody has goals, and all the teams usually have the exact same goal, is to make a bowl game and win the MAC. So it's really about what makes you different at the end of the day.
Yeah, Tyler, I have a quick question for you, bro. And I'm a receiver at heart, and I think the connection with receivers and quarterbacks is like essential to being like a potent offense, right? So tell me about your playmakers. Like, you've gotten 8 weeks to get to know these guys. Kind of talk about a few guys that you feel like have, you know, a high ceiling to where when you get into spring ball, these guys are going to pop. And when the season comes around, you feel like these guys can be your go-to guys. Kind of talk about your guys, your weapons, and kind of enlighten us on who we should be looking for and who you're excited about coming into the season.
Yep. I mean, the big one is DJ Hamilton, Donovan Hamilton. He's a big body kid. He's got a wide range. He runs well. Like you said, he's a big kid. I think he's at 220 now. So he's going to be exciting to see. Thacker, he can run. He's going to play really well in the slot. Elisha Derman, he can fly. A bunch of all of our transfers, man. They're, like I said, we're going to have weapons on the outside. And that's super exciting. Like I said, the past 8 weeks, we haven't taken a Saturday off with getting in the facilities. So, like I said, I'm excited to see what those guys do in spring ball.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear you say that, bro, because I just remember when me and Keith, you know, we had that connection, even with Jordan Williams and Jamil Smith. Like, we just had that connection out there, and that made a difference in a lot of the close games, you know, when we were in those moments. Like, you know, you think back to those ROAs, right? You think back to those hot summers when you're gutting through the 2-minute drill, right? You've been through a long practice. And even with Drew Plitt, you know, when he had his connection in 2020 when they won the MAC championship, I feel like that's essential that you guys continue to build on that, man. And you're doing it the right way so far. You seem like you got a really good head on your shoulders and you're focused. But I also just want to talk about the game that you're looking forward to this year, man. Like, you guys got to, well, I mean, the schedule's not out yet, right? But, you know, tell me one game that you're looking forward to the most, because, you know, we all got that one game circled. I know I had a couple games circled when I was coming out. Just to talk to us about a game that you're looking forward to this season, that you got to get your piss hot for, right? And you want to come out there and make a statement.
I mean, I think the season opener, right? I mean, everybody knows who we're going playing week 1. So, yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited to go in there and you know, we're going to see what, you know, like I said, I'm just excited to go in there and hopefully shock the world a little bit. But, yeah, week 1, like I said, everybody knows who we're going and playing. So that's the one I'm looking forward to.
I'm glad to hear you say that, bro.
Yeah,
you say that with your chest too.
Hey, Tyler, I gave you guys permission to shock the world week 1. Please do.
100%.
There you go.
Absolutely.
100%.
That's the plan.
Tyler, in this portal era, when players, you know, switch from team to team every year, can it be difficult, with this being your third team now, can it be difficult to continuously reestablish some rapport with the coaches, staff, and players that, you know, you're going into, learning a new system, etc.? And what can make that process easier for quarterbacks?
Yeah. You know, I think it's tough sometimes. Like I said, college football is so transactional now. People just want to get paid. But, you know, that is a part of it. But at the end of the day, it's who you're around. Like I said, the quarterback room has been fantastic. I mean, one of the best I've been a part of. So, I mean, like, guys like Keldrick Luster, we're the same age. We're competing for the job, but that's going to be my guy. Like, whoever ends up on the field is going to be, you know, have a great group behind them. Mason Atkins, the freshman, Khalil Wright, Bodie Dare, all those guys, all the guys in the quarterback room have been awesome. So I think if you can find a group of guys that you can kind of lean on and you can relate to, and that's why I think mat drills and doing stuff like that is such a good thing, because you build such a connection with the guys that at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's as long as you got your guys with you, it's, you know, you'll be all right.
Yeah, Tyler, Colin was referencing the college football game earlier, and this will be your first foray in it. Just so you know, every single week before they play a game, Colin will play whoever we're playing that week, and he beats him like 400 to 400 to nothing or something like that. So you're going to probably have you might have some pretty good stats here.
Hey, there we go.
Just beware. Just a couple more questions, and we'll let you get on with your interview. Like we said, we appreciate Tyler here joining us here. So Tyler, I know you've only been in Muncie for a little bit, been around the team, since around probably the first of the year. Who would you say is your favorite teammate so far? I know you mentioned some of the quarterbacks. I know you brought an offensive lineman with you from your last school. Maybe who are some of the teammates you've really resonated with so far?
Yeah, like I said, all the quarterbacks. We went and got dinner on Thursday night right before everybody left, and like you said, that's a great room. We're going to be good no matter who else, who all is on the field. So all those dudes have been great. Definitely my guys. And yeah, I mean, Jacob Judy, he transferred with me. We're roommates. We had a great connection at Concord. We got even tighter here. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the quarterback, like I said, everybody's all together. Receivers have been cool. Like I said, as a team, we're all coming together, and those are all my guys. So,
okay. Now, this next question is not for you. It's actually for Willie. Willie, do you have any advice for Tyler on playing for putting the Cardinal head on or anything that he needs to know? Do you have any advice for Mr. Mizzell?
Yeah, bro. I mean, I think just talking to you, man, you seem like you have the vision of what you want to accomplish with your tenure at Ball State. And, like you said, it's a transactional league. And, if you come out the gate hot and you put up some great stats and you get to a MAC championship, hopefully, and you do your thing, bro, like this might be the only time we get to talk to you, right? Like you might be gone the next year. But I just hope that you leave your footprint in Ball State history, right? Because it's hard to do that now. It's hard to leave a legacy with the way the NIL thing is right now. Not many guys stay around long enough, like this guy right here. Like he would have never known that his dad was a Ball State Hall of Famer if I was in this day and age and like I'm gone out of Ball State in like 2 years, right?
Yep.
Like no legacy, right? And I would just continue to encourage you, bro, to continue to build that bond with your teammates, bro, because that's something that when you're in those tough games like NIU, right, and it's coming down to the wire and you got to lean on your brothers to be able to make plays, right? You think back to those moments where you got dinner together or you got the mat drills or the spring ball or the 6 a.m. runs in the summer, right? You lean on those moments because those are the moments where your brother, the person that's lining up next to you, right? So I just continue to encourage you, bro, just to continue to build on what you started so far. And it sounds like you're doing it the right way, bro. This is my first time talking to you. I heard a lot about you, but I think just speaking to you, you have the vision of what you want this team to be. Now just bring everybody along with you, and even the defensive guys, right? I know just hearing about Fernando Mendoza, like he gets the best out of everybody, right? Not just the offensive guys. He gets the best out of the defensive guys and competitive nature, right? Like that stuff is contagious. So continue to bring that energy, continue to bring that passion, bro. And I believe that you guys will have a special season because I looked at the roster. You guys are loaded, all over the board, and I think it's just gonna take one guy, maybe 2 or 3 guys to really bring it together and, get the most out of this season because that's what it's going to take, bro, to really – sorry about that – to really get the most out of the season, bro, because you guys have something special going. Just looking at the roster and the guys that they brought in transfer, the guys that came in the winter program that are freshmen, right? Like you guys are stacked, and they just need that one guy to look to when shit gets tough. Like who's going to step up and who's going to lead this group. And I think it's going to be you. It's going to be a couple other guys that have been there in the program. But like I said, bro, just continue to build what you started. And I believe you guys will have a successful season. I always say that every year because I believe Ball State is like, the creme de la creme of the MAC. We just haven't had the best luck over the years and finishing games. And, when it comes down to the wire, really, putting the nail in the coffin, so to speak. But, I think that this team can be different. And I think it just needs a quarterback to really lead that team because the teams that were great at Ball State, they had the guy at the helm that could do it, right? And I think you have that edge to you. You got that mindset. And now you just got to go out there and prove it, man. You're back in D1 football, right? You got your shot again to show who you are. You sat behind 2 years at Wake Forest. You got a year at Concord to show what you can do. And now you're back in D1 football, MAC football at that. It's awesome. MAC football is tough, man. There's a lot of hidden gems in the MAC, believe it or not. But I think if you come in there and continue to do what you're doing, bro, I have no doubt that you guys will have a successful season. And you individually we'll have a successful season. So I wish you nothing but the best. I hope that was a good answer, John, because
Yeah, absolutely. That was hey.
I think I got myself hot right now, ready to
Yeah.
go, man. I ain't put on the cleats in a minute.
Oh yeah. So whenever we have players on, I always like to have him. And Colin was actually the first person to ask Willie that. So yeah, that was great advice. Now, Tyler, last question before we let you go. And again, we appreciate everything tonight. So again, you've only been in Muncie for a little bit, not super familiar with the MAC. Do you have any questions for us and what you need to know about Ball State football, the university in general, who you don't like, anything you need to know that you haven't figured out yet? Now's your chance.
That's a good one. Who do we not like?
Okay, so that's a little. It's tough to answer now because the person we did not like the most was Northern Illinois, but they're gone now.
That's right.
So I would say Miami of Ohio would be the team that we don't like the most.
Yeah,
that's right.
Potentially,
I think for me, it's Toledo. Toledo has always been a tough opponent because they built with the right stuff over there, and I think over the years, John, we've knocked them off in pretty good fashion, right? Yep. I think Toledo is going to be a tough battle for you guys. I'm looking forward to that one for you.
So there we go. So Miami of Ohio, Toledo. Those are the teams that when you see on the schedule, that's who we're going to have circled. So
gotcha.
So there you go. It would have been Northern Illinois, and potentially who knows what's going to happen if they come back for whatever reason down the road. But that's who you want to look out for.
Gotcha. Colin, do you think Sac State is going to be on the schedule?
I think they should be on the schedule. As soon as I saw him join the MAC, I emailed Kevin Messenger, and I was like, dude, I have a buddy at Notre Dame who used to teach sculpting. And I hit him up and was like, we need a ball sack trophy. And he was like, I got you. But so I hit up Kevin Messenger, was like, I got a guy if you need a guy. And I'm still waiting on a reply. I didn't get a reply on that one, but I think we play them, and I think they come to Muncie. And if they do, I think even if Kevin Messenger doesn't want the trophy, I'm going to get it built. I'm going to bring it. Tyler, if you're there, I'll pass you the ball sack trophy, man.
There we go. Okay. All right. Well, Tyler, be on the lookout for that potentially. If
Absolutely.
That happens this fall. So,
absolutely.
All right, Tyler, we appreciate your time. You go enjoy the rest of your evening and your spring break, and we all look forward to seeing you out on spring ball here in the next few weeks. So that everyone out there, Tyler Mizzell.
Appreciate you guys.
Tyler. All right. Have a good one, Tyler. Thanks.
See you.
All right. So Tyler Mizzell, I like talking to him. Willie, I know you fired yourself up there for a minute, but Colin, good job getting our newest interview there. So we'll see how it shakes out. As again, like I said, when we were talking to him, he's the first name that came in, and obviously that quarterback position is open. There's a couple guys competing for it. So we'll find out soon kind of how that goes. So any takeaways from that from either of you? Colin, I'll start with you. Anything that stood out to you?
I like his disposition. As a quarterback, he has a nice, cool, calm, relaxed disposition. I feel like under pressure, it's 4th and 4. I feel like we, got the ball in his hands. I feel comfortable with that, just off his, his vibe. So he passed the vibe check.
He vibe. Okay, he's a vibe. All right, Willie, anything from you? I know you kind of laid it out there for him, but anything else from that you didn't hit on?
Yeah, I think he's a solid pickup. You reiterated he was the first guy that signed, and I think, looking back, it makes sense now because it's been 2 years in the making, right? So they kind of knew who that guy wanted. They wanted that guy to be for them, and I think he's going to be solid, man. I think he's made of the right stuff. Just talking to him, all of that will tell on itself. Once the season comes around and these games start up. Just seeing what he's made of when it comes to those moments, like you said, Colin, 4th and 5, 3rd and 8. Having to make those throws and finding that connection with his guys, man. I think that's going to be the difference this year from last year. Is that connection on the outside. Just trying to build on that and being more, strategic with how we get guys the ball. And I think a lot of that comes from just who's at the quarterback position, right? It's so much different than Kyle Kelly, who was a dynamic athlete, right? But I think throwing the football, we struggled a lot last year. And I think that will be a step in the right direction this year with Tyler. And I think as the spring comes, the summer hits, and as fall camp comes around, we'll have a better idea of who this kid is and what he's made of. Because it's still, I mean, in my eyes, I didn't want to say this, but it's like it's still open competition at quarterback, right? He still has to go in there and prove himself and take the job, if anything, right? Because that's, with that mindset, I think he can do it, but you just don't know until, like you said, you get out there with 11 on 11 and you're running the offense and you're running it the way Coach U wants it to be ran, right? And I don't think Coach U was able to do that last year with the way he runs his system. He wasn't able to run it the way he did in Butler the way he had success. So, hopefully, this year with the quarterback that he has in the building now, hopefully we get to see what that offense really looks like with Tyler at the helm. So I'm excited, man, and just talking to him, like you said, Colin, he's a vibe. He checks all the boxes when it comes to moxie and just, cool-headedness and, just real cool, just to talk to, right? He's level-headed, doesn't seem like too high on himself, right? I mean, I think he believes he has to come in and prove himself, and that whenever you get a kid like that coming into the building, you got to watch out for guys like that because they can be special. So really excited for it.
Right. And another thing with that laid back disposition, if he doesn't get the job, although right now would be my pick to maybe win the job, but there is Keldrick Luster there. And I know, Willie, you got a young B there you really like. If he doesn't win the job, that laid back disposition will help in the sense that he's not going to be at the starting quarterback's throat. And it seems like that quarterback room is meshing well, at least from what he's said so far. So yeah, it was a positive interview. I'm glad we had him on.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And good work again. Book him. We originally, again, like I said at the beginning, had the baby here about 10 days ago. But yeah, we originally kind of had it lined up a couple weeks ago, and we pushed it back to here, so it kind of worked out well. Especially works out well because we can get on today and talk the day before tomorrow, which is going to be Pro Day, which I know, Willie, you had Pro Day, and Colin's actually going to be there tomorrow. So, Colin, I'm going to ask you a little bit here, just a second, about what you're planning on seeing tomorrow and what you hope to see. But let me pull up kind of the press release of what people can expect to see maybe online tomorrow throughout the day. So the Pro Day again tomorrow, Monday, March 2nd. Coach U will be there. All the scouts will be there. They'll be running all the drills, kind of getting ready for guys who potentially could get drafted or get signed, after the draft is over, undrafted free agents. So a lot of guys participating tomorrow. Alfred Chi, Adam Dolan, Kobe Gross, a bunch of people, Kyle Kelly, Keon Magwood, a couple of the kickers, DC Pippen, Adam Saul, Joey Stimler, Nathan Voris. So, Colin, who are you most excited to see tomorrow, and what kind of are you expecting the day to be like? Because this will be your first time going to a Pro Day. I think it's your first time really going to cover anything, correct?
I went to the spring game last year, but other than the spring game last year, yeah, this is the first thing I've gone down that they've invited me to, come and check out the team. I'll say number one player I'm excited for, and I think this isn't going to surprise anybody, is Nate Voris. He's 5th in sacks in all of college football, and they did not invite him down to the combine. So I think that's a slap in the face already. On there looking to prove some people wrong, and I think he will. And then after that, guys, I have to give it up to Keon Magwood and Kyle Kelly, 2 guys that gave us the time to come on the pod. So I'm excited to go down there, see them, support them. But there's a lot of guys that contributed that'll be down there. I mean, Joey Stimler, a stalwart on defense. He was, really our most reliable linebacker last year in terms of minutes, tackles, stuff like that. DC Pippen got a lot of play for us towards the end of the season. JoJo Lewis took off last year. I think he had 4 picks or so, all in consecutive games almost. So I'll be excited to see a ton of these guys. We will have an article about Pro Day released on the Substack. I hope everybody's following that. I will be writing about Pro Day, and that article will release, a week or 2 in the future after Pro Day.
Colin, are you planning on whipping out the phone tomorrow and doing any interviews while you're there?
We might. I'm bringing down a camera. So last spring game, I did bring a camera, and they told me I couldn't bring it in. So I'm bringing another one. Hopefully they let me bring this camera in. If they do, I might try to get some interviews, at least for the written portion of it, like with a, recording on my something like that. But I might try to get a video too, just depending how friendly and, accommodating they are for interviews, really.
Yeah, Willie, last year, just before you started the show, Colin showed up at the spring game basically unannounced with like a huge camera, like they're wanting him to let him in. Like he could have been Purdue, he could have been anybody. They had no idea who he would have been.
That's hilarious.
But Willie, so as the only person on this panel here who's participated in a pro day, kind of walk us through as a player what tomorrow looks like and what you're hoping to accomplish.
Yeah, guys are going to come in and get measurements. It's hard to say how many scouts will be there. I assume there'll be like between 15 and 30, hopefully. I believe we have a lot of good prospects. Nathan Voorhees is going to lead it off, as well as Kewan Magwood, Kyle, JoJo Lewis, and I think a sneaky, good prospect is Adam Saul. He's a great punter. He put the team in a lot of great positions, backed up. Be able to put the defense in a great position to be able to stop offense. So I think scouts will be able to take a look at Adam and see if he has what it takes to punt in the league. And, obviously I believe that, he's built to the right stuff. But yeah, I mean, guys will test, they'll do the 40, they'll do the pro drill, they'll do the L drill. Hopefully the weather holds up, but they have the indoor now. I mean, that's something we didn't have back then.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have the indoor at our disposal to be able to, run a flying 40. We were inside the atrium, or not the atrium, but the fitness center where the turf was only like 80 yards, so we had to like kind of taper down. Once we hit 40, if we didn't slow down, we were going to run into the wall, so I think, the building itself, just having the turf is going to be able to set the environment for those guys and really just be able to take advantage of the moment, man, because this is their moment. For the guys that didn't get a shot at the combine, I think Nate is gonna, come in there with his hair on fire. And literally the combine just edited and they're having their pro day tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So I think it works out for his benefit, because if he did go to the combine, he probably would have wanted to test again on pro day, and that would have been a back-to-back thing. That would have been tough. So, a lot of these guys should be fresh, coming off the last couple months training from January to now. I think guys just got to put their best foot forward and show the scouts that, they have what it takes to play in the league. And, a lot of these guys, unfortunately, might go undrafted, but that doesn't mean that they won't make an NFL roster at the end of the day. I'm living proof of that. There's plenty of guys that are living proof of that, that didn't get drafted but had great pro days that made enough of an impression to where they got invited to a mini camp or a rookie mini camp and was able to, kind of cement themselves and, prove these scouts right. Because a lot of these scouts, they take a chance on a guy like Nate Voorhees or a Kewan Magwood. They take a chance on a guy like that because they see the talent, and where those guys prove themselves is the rookie mini camp. That's what these guys are basically setting themselves up for, is an opportunity to get into a camp somewhere and prove that once you put the pads on and you start playing some actual football, that you can line it up with anybody and make the most of your opportunities. So, just expect Colin, when you go out there tomorrow, just expect guys to be locked in. It's going to be one of those things where guys got their headphones. It's basically their game day. It's their last game day, basically in college football. And, this is an important day for these guys. This is the interview. This is the start of their interview process. And, I pray a lot of these guys have a great day. They run some good 40s, because if you run a good 40 on pro day, that's really what guys are looking for. If guys can run fast and keep up with the speed that's in this league, right? Guys are, walking 4.4s and 4.3s. So if you can't keep up with guys like that, it's going to be hard for you to make the league. But, this is the start of these guys' resume. And from there, just your NFL, your football journey begins. And, I'm just excited to see how these guys test. I'm excited to see how what Colin has to say about tomorrow and how these guys, kind of showcase their talent. So it's an exciting day. The nerves will be up, obviously, because, you have NFL scouts there. This is their one time to prove that they're NFL worthy, right? And there'll also be, I'm guessing there will be some CFL scouts and, other scouts from different leagues there. So, I would, Colin, if I was you, I would kind of pick the brain of these scouts, kind of see who they're looking at, who they're high on their board, who they're looking forward to seeing, who tests well. And, obviously the portion that I was always favorable on was the position drills, right? I never tested well. I was always never going to test well. I was always a good athlete, but I wasn't like the best athlete. I wasn't going to be the fastest 40, the quickest guy. But when the position drills came, that's where I made my money. Running routes, catching everything, showing that can be explosive after the catch, right? That's where these guys really should make their hay, is the position drills. If they don't test well at all, those position drills will make the biggest difference, because at the end of the day, football is about playing the game, right? Pitching the ball around, catching the ball, finishing. That's what it's really about. When you're running in underwear and you're just putting numbers on paper, right? Like that's cool. That gives them an idea of what kind of player you are, but that's not the player you are, essentially, like who you will become. So I just want these guys, encourage these guys to just, put their best foot forward. However they test, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, finish each drill the right way. Finish with the, an uncoachable mindset. When I say that, I mean like finish. Have a great attitude, bring the energy. Right. That's what these scouts are looking for, is a guy who can be a game changer. So I'm excited for these guys. I know a lot of these guys personally, and I know what tomorrow will be for them. So I hope that they have a great day. I hope, Colin, you get some great content. And, at the end of the day, you just want to see these guys have an opportunity, a shot to play at the next level, because that's what we all dream of as kids. We all want that opportunity to prove ourselves and be able to play at the next level. And this is the opportunity for those guys to do that tomorrow.
Now, Willie, I know we all see people running the drills, running the 40, catching, punting, doing everything. Is there any component tomorrow of like a sitting down with teams? Do you talk with the scouts, or is it basically just they show up, they record what they see and they leave? Or is there much dialogue between the players themselves and the scouts that are there? Like, does that happen at the pro day at all?
Yeah, absolutely. After the pro day, after like the drills are done and the day is almost concluded, you'll have a lot of scouts talk to different guys and ask about how they performed, how they felt about it, what teams, they're looking at and stuff like that. But most of that stuff does happen after, the drills and everything is concluded. You might have a couple scouts that might know these guys on a personal level and kind of introduce themselves and kind of, tell them that they're looking forward to see them perform, or whatever the case may be. But there is some interaction that happens after, the position drills and everything is concluded. So, normally if you test well, you will get a certain amount of scouts that talk to you and kind of tell you what they're looking at and how they view you and where they're at on your board, that they might have moved up in their board, whatever the case may be. But there is some dialogue that happens after the pro day. And, hopefully it's a positive environment tomorrow. Guys will test, and hopefully they test well. And, they're able to show these scouts that, maybe they're more than what they thought. You know what I'm saying? They have a certain idea of a player. You want to exceed those expectations. And, after that comes like the official visits, right? If they feel good about JoJo Lewis, right, they might invite JoJo to, Kansas City, as an official visit, or they might have a private workout with, Kyle Kelly, just to see how he throws in a different scheme, a different offense with different plays, right? So those are the kind of things that, can transpire after a workout if it goes well and the team likes what they see in a certain player.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, best of luck to all the guys participating tomorrow. And, hopefully everyone does well. And, we get to see some guys here and like Willie said, like the rookie mini camps and maybe even regular mini camps going in the training camp this summer. So again, everyone out there listening, be sure throw in all your questions and comments in the chats wherever you're watching them, and we will get to them here in just a little bit. One more thing before we get to the other kind of big news that's happened since we last spoke, guys. I wanted to talk a little bit about the spring game. I know we're a little far off from that still. We got a little ways to go, but we did get kind of an official announcement here now of when we can expect that to be. And that's going to be April 18th at 1 o'clock at Schumann Stadium. Unfortunately, originally we had seen, me and Colin and I had put 2 and 2 together at one point. This was originally scheduled to be on April 11th, which if that was the case, I was going to be there as well as Colin. It got moved back a week. I can't make it now. That's actually when we're moving to Indiana. But Colin, I know this is going to be the first chance for everyone to see the Cardinals for this year. How excited are you for the spring game, even though we got a few weeks still?
10 out of 10. And I think other people are super excited too. Whenever we put out our spring episode, and I guess I can't make it seem like it's a pattern, but last year's spring episode was one of our biggest episodes, this whole year. So I know people are itching to see what we think of the new players, the players that had another year to grow in the system. I'm super excited to let everybody know, who I think is going to be a star here, who looked really good there. I'm just pumped because I just bring a notepad. I'm taking down notes, and I'm going to share as much information as I can possibly glean from this showcase to the people. So I'm super excited for it.
Mm-hmm. Willie, as a former player, I know the spring games are a little bit different now than they were when you guys were playing. But what did the spring game mean to you? How excited did you guys get for it back then when you guys had a chance to suit up the one time in the spring where people would come watch?
Yeah, I was very excited for spring ball, because I honestly, like, there would be so much trash talking within the winter workouts and mat drills leading into the spring. We just wanted to compete against the guys across from us and kind of prove that, to the not only to the players but to the coaching staff that we are that guy. Or in my case, I was that guy. And I think my going into my sophomore year after my freshman year was the spring game that really kind of separated me from everybody else. And I think before that, it was kind of a feeling, that I was going to be good, but I needed to prove myself. And I think that's what the spring allows guys to do. It allows them to prove themselves. And like you said, John, it's a little different from when I was playing. But, this is an opportunity for guys to showcase the new talent, the new guys, right, or the guys that are returning, how well they've gotten, how they've attacked the winter and how well the spring has went for them. It allows them to showcase exactly what people can look forward to when we talk Ball State football. So, I'm really excited about the spring. I'm excited about all the guys, especially talking to Tyler not too long ago, just with the guys that he's building rapport with, ready to see what this offense looks like with the new quarterback at the helm, and just to see the differences from last year to this year is really what I'm going to be looking for. And just to see that competitiveness, the excitement of the spring game between both players, offense and defense, just to get after it, get to hit somebody, put on a live performance for, I think they still invite fans to the game, right? Is that still a thing?
Yep.
So it's something, that is something in itself as well, to be able to play in front of family, friends, fans that show up. It builds that environment that people can look forward to come the fall. So I've always been a believer in the spring. I'm actually excited for this spring after all the new recruits and transfers that come in. So I'm just kind of hurt that it's so far away. April 18th, it's the first today. That's a little over a month and a half away. So we got some time, fellas, before we start really talking spring game here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So two things. Well, you were talking about that spring game between basically the end of your freshman year, sophomore year. I remember that game specifically for one reason. It wasn't anything that happened on the field. In the concourse, either before or after, I can't remember what it was, Coach Limbo came out there to talk to all the fans who were there. And he was talking and thanking everyone who's there and this, that, and the other. And then he said, and guess what, guys? He said, we beat Indiana last year and we're going to beat them again this year. That's what he came out and said at the spring game. And sure as shit, you guys did. So there's that. And then for those of us who can't make the spring game, which now unfortunately is me, SportsLink, if you're hearing me, Jude, if you're hearing me, anyone listening out there, let's figure out a way to broadcast this thing so people can watch it if they can't make it, because I would love to watch it. I know a lot of times the really big schools, the Penn States, LSUs, all them, their games are on like ESPN now, and people sell them out and do this. It'd be great to be able to watch this spring game somehow. So I don't know if there's enough appetite out there for people to do that, but I would love to watch it. So, okay. The last big thing, and this kind of hurt me because I wasn't able to get on and talk about this earlier, but this took the internet by storm. And every so often, a story involving the MAC will do that. You've seen it right now with Miami of Ohio's men's basketball team. They're kind of the talk of everything. Well, before that, the MAC lost Northern Illinois last year, and we have a new team now for football. And it's not one that you might expect. Sacramento State. So, guys, this was reported a couple weeks back. They're paying something like $23 million in total to join the conference. They're paying like $5 million to jump into the FBS, and they're paying the conference like $18 million. So for a team like Ball State, a conference like the MAC, obviously any extra money coming in, you're not really going to scoff at, especially something to the tune of $18 million. So it's kind of strange, but again, all of college football is really strange nowadays with how things go. So, Colin, I'll start with you. when this news officially broke, because I feel like there was rumblings for a couple weeks before it was official. What was your take when this officially came out that Sacramento State was going to not only be in the MAC, but be in the MAC this upcoming season?
Initially, I'm excited, and I'm still excited. It's hard for me not to be excited when there's a new team that's going to join the conference that Ball State will get to play against. Just gives that fresh feeling to the upcoming season. I will say there was some iffy sort of financial releases, and I don't know enough about that really to dive headfirst into it. But what it does seem like is that it was a good deal for the MAC and the teams in the MAC. It seems like we'll make some money from Sac State coming in. Now, in regards to Sac State, I do have some worries if like this deal is good for them. I know they put out that number about $975 million they can make over 5 years. I think that came from a study that gave them like $175 million in name recognition or something just from the game and ESPN and stuff like that, and they times that by 5 over the 5 years. What I'm worried about though is I know they have to pay that $5 million upon entry into FBS, and then there's $6 million of the $18 million they have to pay in year one. What concerns me is after say 2 years, 3 years, say Sac State is in the MAC and they've been paying because they agreed to this to pay for each team to fly out to Sacramento State to play them when teams go out there. I'm concerned that sometime within the 5 years they could maybe drop back down to FCS or something like that. But then my thought process really is, does that hurt the MAC? And I think the MAC is kind of in a position where it's like, you guys are going to sink and swim, you guys in Sac State, and we can be a partner like UCF kind of to, go and to the next level. Say they come into the MAC and they just run stuff, which I highly doubt. But say they come in here and they get 3 MAC championships in 5 years, maybe they're looking at, the PAC finally offering them or Mountain West or something like that. But on the flip side, they could come in, it could be a financial disaster, and then, maybe they drop back down to FCS. But from the MAC perspective, from Ball State perspective, super excited about it. I do have some worries on Sac State's end, but for the most part, Ball State's going to get a little bit of money from this. MAC's going to get paid. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I believe the parts of the deal too, I don't think they get any media like money disbursements for the MAC. So I think the caveat for that is basically if they're not getting that, I think if in, like you said, Colin, 3 or 4 years, maybe they do really well. I think they can basically leave whenever they want if that's the case, since they're not being basically paid. They're paying basically to play into it. But yeah, it makes perfect sense for the conference because it's basically, they really want a chance to get into the FBS. And a lot of times the price you pay today for something is not the price of tomorrow. If you buy a house or do something like that, just because it's the price today doesn't mean it's going to be priced tomorrow. So while right now you might be out there saying, man, they paid $23 million to get into the FBS. Well, guess what? In 3 years, it might be $50 million. We have no idea. You have no idea. All you know is what the price is today. So I commend them for doing this. And like you said, could it get screwy? It certainly can. But, from a MAC perspective and a Ball State perspective, you're giving these guys a chance and they're basically paying you for a spot to do it. So, Willie, I don't think we had any new teams really join the conference when you were playing. I know we had some teams leave at the time. And I know UMass came in for a minute before they left and ultimately came back. But I think that was actually that was your first year in the NFL. But what are your thoughts on getting a new team in the conference, especially one so far away?
Yeah, it's interesting because, the fact that they're on the West Coast and, the Mid-American Conference is really built on teams in the Midwest. It is kind of interesting. It is an investment for Sac State to be in the MAC because, if you look at the numbers, the revenue that they can build over the next couple of years, it is, very fascinating. The fact that they can make so much money just with, television and just the growth of the program itself being in the D1 program. I think it will bring a lot of good prospects to them as a program, just from making that jump from 1AA to D1. But, obviously it's going to be a good challenge for these MAC schools because obviously traveling to the West Coast is a challenge in itself and to prepare for games. With the time change and all that, they have to take that into consideration. And also, just the fact that this is a new team that nobody knows anything about, So like you said, Colin, Dick, these guys can come in and run the table and we don't even know, because they have a new coach in Alonzo Carter. They have, they've had a steady program over the years and they have done very well for themselves. And, I think all schools need to be on high alert in the MAC about this school because, yes, they're new. We don't know what they could look like. They could look like, UMass of the new UMass of the MAC, right? Or they can, be a contender every year, right? We don't know, but we have to respect these guys because they do have a strong program. And, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting just to see how MAC teams, Mid-American Conference teams go out to the West Coast and perform, because that is very rare that you see that happen. And you see Northern Illinois join the Mountain West, and they'll have to travel to games, on the West Coast because, those are the type of teams they play now. But, ultimately I'm excited to see the change. I think it's good change, right? Like you want to be able to see these conferences shake up a little bit. We saw Oklahoma and Texas, join the SEC a couple of years ago, and that's been going very well for them. So I think it's a positive for the MAC because it stretches, the MAC out. It allows, us to be able to, reach different, parts of the country, obviously, and, be able to, tap into the West Coast, right? Like now you can say, hey, we play a team out West, we'll come out there once a year or once every 2 years, right? To see family and friends. So from a recruiting standpoint, right, you kind of tap into that over there and you might be able to steal a couple players here and there. So I think it's good all the way around. We will see, in the next couple of years, if it is a good investment, if the money, continues to flow in for them, or if they have to drop down because it becomes too expensive to be in the MAC, So those are the unknowns. But I think this year coming into it, I think we can kind of look forward to and be excited about, the kind of brand of football that Sac State brings to the MAC. And we can kind of see like how MAC teams kind of compare and play against, a team at Sac State's caliber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you made a great point, Willie, of the recruiting aspect of being in California. As silly as it sounds, the MAC, the Mid-American Conference, truly does go coast to coast now. You go from Northern California and Sacramento all the way out to UMass. So they truly are, coast to coast. They cover, the entire continental United States. I guess if we can get back down, maybe in Florida, maybe get one of the teams in Florida, and that's what these conferences are wanting to do now. They're wanting to get into these markets everywhere. And an interesting thing I saw with Sacramento State is reading some of the fans. They were saying a lot of guys with as big of a city as Sacramento is, they got some good players. Obviously, California has very talented players. It's one of the best states, that produces guys. Florida, Texas, California. Those are kind of like the three big ones. But a lot of times the talent wasn't staying in Sacramento because these guys had bigger and better, dreams where they wanted to go. They didn't want to play at the FCS level. Well, now they have opportunity to play in the FBS and stay home. So they're thinking that it's going to be a shot in the arm to get guys to stay and play there. So that'd be interesting to see. Will that happen right away? Who knows? I'm kind of with Colin. I think it'll be an adjustment for him right out the jump. But again, from a Ball State perspective, I don't really think this is a huge deal because this is something basically that we're only going to deal with once every 2 years, pretty much. You're going out there, every other year at the most. So, but I'm excited.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what you said, John, I think, like you said, I think it does help their program to kind of get those players, those homegrown players, and keep them kind of, in that area, right? Because Sacramento, just the Northern California area, has great athletes. And, I read a statement from Eric Armstead, who's a, NFL player, been in the league for over 10 years, and he's a Sacramento native. He said he would have stayed at Sacramento State if they were D1 at the time. Right. So they obviously have a great program, and the fact that they're D1 now, I think that validates who they are as a program and, the strength of, what they're doing now and where they're going to be going. So I think that's a great point. And I think, we have to kind of pay attention to that because, if they're getting these great 3-star players who kind of going under the radar, right, like that can bring some problems for the MAC, for other teams, because it's like, they're tapping into a different pool of athletes, that Buffalo might not be able to get a chance to get their hands on, right? So I think that's a great point. Just wanted to piggyback off of that.
And so Yeah,
more
go
things
ahead.
we've done.
Go ahead, Colin.
The MAC. So how we've kind of like we phrase this really is like, if it works out, good for them. If it doesn't, then oh well. But I will say the MAC and Ball State has some vested interest in this working out. And what that is Sacramento State being in the 20th biggest media market. When we go to do those TV deals, that's going to really help us and maybe get more money on that TV contract from ESPN. So hopefully it does work out and it can just be a boost to what the MAC looks like on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm. And you've seen the idea floated out there with basically sometimes having two action games, having a normal start time, and then having like a late one, like you see sometimes on the weekends. Teams on the West Coast kicking off super late, so that's another time slot that you could fill. Midweek, which guys are always or networks are always wanting to fill because that's kind of the dead time, especially during football season before basketball gets going on and anything like that. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the big reason why this is such a big deal. Obviously, Ball State, obviously Sacramento State, the unofficial trophy, the Ball Sack trophy. So my question for you guys both is, I think there's no question that's asked that this will be an unofficial rival at this point. Maybe not in a vicious sense, more of a fun sense. Do you think this will become an official rival, especially with Northern Illinois leaving? We have a hole there. Do you think that we play into this in a fun way, or do you think it's just something that the fans of both schools will go at? Willie, I'll start with you. Is there any way that the Ball Sack rivalry becomes an official Ball State rival?
I am not a supporter of the Ball Sack trophy, honestly, for multiple reasons. But I would be very surprised if it came to that point, if there was a rivalry to be had. Just off of, it just depends how games go, right? Like if there is 3 years of just down to the wire games and they don't like each other, that type of attitude, right? I could see it happening, but I would have to put other teams in the MAC before them, like Toledo. Like we talked about Toledo, like we've had multiple years of just down to the wire moments with Toledo, right? They've always been right there for us. Miami of Ohio, no question about it, right? So there's not necessarily a rivalry to be had. Yes, we're losing one, but who's to say that we don't put NIU on the schedule as a, non-conference game, every other year and kind of, rekindle that, rivalry, so to speak, but I'm not a supporter of the Ball Sack trophy. If it becomes a thing, I think it'll be something funny to be had, something to kind of like build up. But no, John, I don't see that happening.
Now, Colin, I'll ask you the same question. Do you think this will become an official rivalry? If not, I have a suggestion for you. So I want you to answer first, and then I'll make my suggestion.
I think when I'm putting myself in the position of the athletic department of not only Ball State, but Sac State, you just put this huge investment on the table to join this conference. Ball State is the second closest school after Western Michigan, but really close to being the closest school. I think it's got to be considered. And even if they don't really do it, there's money made on a sponsor. There's money to be made on people viewing this just for the score bug, and it'll be all over Twitter. There's so much money to be made in this that I think it has to at least be considered to make this a trophy game.
So here's my suggestion for you, Colin. I think you need to find whoever the biggest Sacramento State account is, and I think you should commission that trophy. And even if it's not an official one that the teams have, you guys should send it back and forth, whoever wins.
I think that's fair. I think I'm considering getting a trophy
look like, though. What does that look like?
Well, you can use your best imagination here. Our friend Rob over at Sidelines Ball State, I think he has a picture made. I think he had AI do it of what the trophy would look like. So feel free to go over there and check it out.
I don't know if there's going to be any hoisting of that kind of trophy, though, right?
Like, that's why Colin has to do it
over somebody's head.
I think if it looks cool enough, I think it could work.
Okay. All right. Well, to be determined. Again, I'm excited that they're in the conference. I hope they're not only on the schedule, I hope they're on the schedule. I hope we get to go out there soon and before they potentially leave. Who knows? But I hope Ball State gets a chance to go out there. I'd like to go. So
we better get our road woes in check before we go out to the West Coast.
I didn't want to bring that up with Tyler earlier, but when we're talking about the Ohio State game, I almost mentioned that we were 0-7 on the road last year, but I did not. I showed some restraint.
Good man. Good man.
So, all right, to everyone out there who've been watching, thank you so much. We're going to read a couple questions here. If you got any last minute ones, throw them in here. If you want to tell us if you think the Ball Sack Trophy should be a real thing, please throw it in there right now and say your piece. But our first one comes over to our good friend Scott Simborski over there on Facebook. He just says, "Congrats, John, talking about the birth of my son." So thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Hopefully, like I said, he'll be a Ball State Cardinal one day, like your son is. So that'd be cool. Mike over on X, any word on when the schedule will be released? So Mike, I do not have any concrete dates for you, but I have been speaking with some people, and originally it seemed like season tickets were going to be going on sale at the end of February. That obviously has not happened yet. I think the Sacramento State thing was kind of a last minute thing and kind of threw things into a loop. So that maybe makes me believe that we are on the schedule with them. So no, but I would anticipate it comes out this week would be my guess. Colin, would you agree with that? I know you are a schedule guy as well. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I got some word from an inside source with someone that lives in Muncie that, is closer with the athletic department. It'll be this week. I feel fairly comfortable saying the schedule is going to come out sometime this week.
Okay. So yeah, when it does, we'll have some thoughts on it probably next week. I know Colin likes to do what he likes to call a way too early schedule prediction.
Yep.
So even though we have no information really on what the team's going to look like, Colin likes to try and pick it and see how good he can get. So be on the lookout for that. And last question from our friend Shay. Shay's good. A friend of ours watches the show pretty often. Spring break used to be this week when I was in school. What were usually your guys' spring break plans? Okay, I like that. Willie, I'll start with you. What were your spring break plans usually when you were at Ball State?
Yeah, my spring break plans were just to get the hell out of Muncie. I was a South Florida kid. I think a lot of guys talked about going to Cancun or the Tallahassee's of the world, but I always went down to South Florida, where I grew up. My family was down there. Got to be out there in the sun, hit the beach a little bit, to get some workouts in twice, 3 times a week, and kind of just feel the sun before I go back to the freezing cold of Muncie. That was kind of my spring break plans. I tried to get out on the first thing smoking as soon as they told us bye. I was trying to get out of there right away and take as much time as I can at home down there in South Florida. So that was kind of my spring break plans over the last 3 years of being at Ball State. Just being home down in South Florida, kicking it with the family, and touching some sand every now and then.
Well, I gotta throw a flag on this here.
Okay.
There is not one person in the history of Ball State who went to Tallahassee, Florida for spring break. What are you talking about?
What's the city that's right next to Tallahassee?
Panama City.
There you go, Panama City. They go crazy over there. It's close enough. You know what I was talking about.
I feel like I'm one of the few people, maybe in the history of the world, who's not only lived in Muncie but also lived in Tallahassee. I got to be one of the only ones.
Oh yeah, you definitely are. That's a rare thing to say. What were you doing in Tallahassee?
I worked for FSU. I was an intern for a semester.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, so. They're both interesting.
Cool.
They're both interesting places. I'll say that. Colin, yourself, did you go anywhere fun in college on spring break, or you just head back to South Bend? What'd you do?
I never even went home. I was just brothers, the chug. Spring break was when it really went down. It started getting nice out. The little ping pong table out in the front yard, play beer pong, light a couch on fire, throw a party. It was just the old Muncie stuff, spring break is a time for the debauchery really to step up. That's when we got to go. And, at the spring game, I should be driving down. I should be seeing the kids out drinking and enjoying themselves peacefully. That's what I want to see when I go down to Muncie, is that culture still there, of partying, having fun. Because that's all we were doing during spring break. There was no worries. We go and get Taco Bell. So you got something to eat after you're drinking, and then you're set and you just stay home and relax. That was really what it was.
There we go.
Sounds very good. I'm not going to lie.
My first couple of years there, I was on the volleyball team, so we were in season, so we didn't really get to do anything fun. We had matches and everything, but I usually would go to Florida at some point growing up forever. So even the last couple of years, that's what I would do. I'd end up in Florida, go watch some baseball and do stuff like that. So that's kind of what I was doing, Shay. And the last one again from Scott. Oh, he put Lucas's birthday is actually on the spring game. So there we go.
Oh,
Happy early birthday. Happy 6-week early birthday there, Lucas. So
there you go.
All right, boys. Anything else before we get out of here, Colin? I'll kick it to you first.
Yeah, just stay tuned. I want to remind everybody the Substack. If you go to my Twitter page, you see the handle right down there. You go to the Twitter page, you'll be able to see the Substack. We're going to release articles occasionally. I spoke about the Pro Day. I'll have an article up about that. I requested an FOIA on January 17th, and I'm still waiting on that. I was assured that that's in process. So once I get that information, I'll go through it, see if I can really, figure anything out from that FOIA. I'll write about that. So just I want to make sure everybody stays tuned to the, Substack, stay tuned to Twitter. I'm not sure when the next episode will be, but for sure it'll be something worthwhile. And of course, when spring game comes, we're going to do something big for that. So just stay tuned to YouTube, Twitter, the Substack. Any way you can get the information, we'll be making sure we're putting out worthwhile content.
Willie, same thing for you. Anything else for the fans before we get out of here?
No, I'm just happy to be back on with you guys, man. Thanks for everybody who tuned in tonight, that listened to Tyler and listened to us talk some ball afterwards. Really just appreciate this platform and everybody that joins on every time that we come on. So until next time, like Colin said, continue to stay locked in, stay tuned for the next episodes and articles to come. And until then, guys, really appreciate you. It's always love.
Perfectly said. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for tonight's show. Again, we appreciate you joining us here on this March 1st. So we got a long ways till football, so we appreciate everyone joining us, and we'll be here all throughout the offseason. So again, if you haven't already, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to us on all the major social media platforms, wherever you're at, wherever you're watching. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, make sure you do it. Tell your friend, tell your mom, tell your grandma, whoever you want to tell about Ball City of the Union. Be sure to tell them that we're here pretty much every week. So until then, which maybe we'll be on next week, I'm not sure yet. We'll see if that schedule comes out. If so, we'll probably jump on next week if people are free. But yeah, until then, chirp chirp and go Cardinals.